Hello, everybody. Ella J here on behalf of SEScoops, and today I am joined by Impact Wrestling star Steve Maclin. So, how are you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing great, Ella. How are you?
I am fantastic. I got to see a little cameo of your dogs prior to recording, so I am so happy to be here. We're all about dogs and animals in here. So I'm super excited to be chatting with you. Now, obviously, you've been signed to Impact Wrestling for a few months now. So how would you describe the overall atmosphere or vibe of the Impact Zone so far?
It's awesome from top to bottom. And I get asked this question a lot too. And it's one of those things where everywhere I've been, the locker room's been great. Can't complain about it. But the acceptance and just the way everybody treats each other in the locker room and Impact is just from top to bottom, just amazing. And even the staff, it's been nothing but welcoming and a lot of support and a lot of freedom. That's the best part about it too.
Yeah. So obviously coming into the impact zone, like you said, you were priding yourself on that creative freedom. So now how does it kind of feel to kind of feel revitalized and actually have some control of your own character and everything that you're doing at Impact?
It's great, and that's one of the things too of being an Impact Wrestling is there's a lot of good input. Not a lot of heads come at you, and like you don't have to play that game of this person says this or this person says that. It's very straightforward, and with creative there, it's good to just give my ideas and then what their thought process is, and we work together. And I'm pretty able to just speak my mind now in promos, which I love because that's always I felt one of my strong points as well, and I've never been able to showcase that as well. And it's just been awesome.
Now, was there anybody who particularly welcomed you or helped you kind of find your footing in this new locker room coming in a few months ago?
Um, No, I think it's funny too because Deanna and I had the conversation about it. Like, where she's like, "You kind of know everybody." I was like, "Yeah." I was either I've worked with them when we were my time in NXT at tryouts, seeing them down the road at some points, or just knowing about them and meeting them down the road too. Because the wrestling world, it's as big as everybody thinks the wrestling world is. It's very small.
That is very true. You got some old faces and new faces, but since signing with Impact Wrestling, you've certainly had your sights set on capturing that X Division championship. And now you are finally getting that championship title opportunity for the current vacant championship at Bound for Glory coming up on October 23rd. So, what are your thoughts heading into this triple threat matchup that's just been made official between yourself, El Fantasmo, and Trey Miguel?
I'm pumped, and like I've told everybody, it's the X division is one of those divisions that's set the bar for Impact for a very long time. And the clash of styles between the three of us with Phantasmo and Trey and myself, it's going to be a good one. And I've already told everybody that that's my goal. That's what I want. I want that target. I want that X division title around my waist because now I can see what's coming at me instead of having to worry what's behind me.
Now, you mentioned the history of the X division, which has been absolutely crazy at sometimes. It's also, I feel like, one of the most underrated divisions, though. But why going into Impact Wrestling was the X Division Championship something that you wanted to first accomplish ahead of maybe arguably the biggest championship in Impact, obviously the heavyweight championship?
It's baby steps, and but the X division, like I said, it's held the rings for a long time in Impact Wrestling, and that's one of those things that stood out to me in the early 2000s when watching it. And you had AJ Styles back then, and it just overall, just one of those things. It's kind of like the Intercontinental title, where it's not saying like the main title doesn't work hard. Everybody works hard, but it's just that one title that like you want to get before you move on to the big one. And if you're not in this business and you're not after championships, I don't know what you're doing.
True that. Now, heading into this triple threat matchup, there's a lot of uncertainty. Anything could happen as you not only have one opponent, but two. So, what do you think are perhaps the biggest strengths and or weaknesses of your competitors that you have been studying?
Uh, well, obviously they're both high flyers. They can do a lot of good things in the air, but at the same time, once I punch you in the face and ground you, it's gonna kind of stop you from doing that. But I've had the privilege of being in an amount of triple threat matches lately, especially qualifying for the X Division title at Bound for Glory. But even my match at Victory Road with T.J. Perkins and Petey Williams, two great guys and two tough competitors, and both again two very different styles and very similar styles of what I'm going into at Bound for Glory. And it's just it's watching a lot of film and studying and seeing what everybody does, and that's my game. I like to know ahead of time what they're going to do. that's the best part about me. And I keep telling everybody about that. Not a lot of people know about me, and that's my edge.
Now, would you consider yourself one who regularly watches tapes, not only ahead of big matches, but just in general, not only to like improve yourself, but learn things from wrestling past and other performers?
Yeah, if you're not doing that, even current product now across the board for all companies, if you're not watching to see kind of what's going on, I don't know what you're kind of doing in the business. Like as much as you get tired of seeing wrestling, because there's so much wrestling to watch nowadays, and I admire a fan these days. I couldn't do it if I was younger. There's so much content out there. It's insane. But to see what I like and what I nitpick at, and like guys that I know at Impact Wrestling, I know I'm going to have to work down the road probably is where I kind of study.
Now, in your first training days and all that, or maybe even as a younger fan watching it itself, was there anybody whose style or technical work or just in-ring prowess you were particularly drawn to or found yourself really, really studying and diving into?
Growing up, I was a diehard Bret Hart fan, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin right after that. And if anything, style of Stone Cold. But then once I started training and getting into wrestling, I watched a lot of Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, and how he moved in the ring, certain things he did, little details and selling. It's one of those lost arts, and he was literally perfect at everything he did. And he's one of my favorites as well. But that's kind of where I kind of get my three niches from, is those three with Bret Hart, Stone Cold, and Mr. Perfect.
I mean, what a perfect mix of three of the best, arguably the best in the game, obviously from the past. But looking forward to today, who do you then consider today three of the best in-ring performers, whether it's yourself, somebody in the impact zone, or just in the scope of wrestling today? Who would you say are the top three best in-ring workers?
In-ring workers. Oof, now you're putting me on the bar. Well, I take a lot of pride in myself, so I'll obviously put myself up there. I feel I'm very underrated in that aspect, but I have a lot to prove and a lot to show. Um, Roman Reigns is killing it. If you watch him as an entertainer, from again little things, he's just dominant. He literally is the head of the table in how he's carrying himself, and he does that. For Impact, right now you have the main event at Bound for Glory with Josh Alexander and Christian. Josh was a guy I was watching because I know I wanted that X Division title, and granted, he invoked that option C. Kind of disappointed me a little bit because I was looking forward to facing him down the road, but that still can happen because come Bound for Glory, I win the X Division title. Option C is there for me.
Exactly. And obviously, Bound for Glory is coming up this Saturday, October 23rd. Besides your triple threat matchup, is there any other matchup you are particularly looking forward to seeing? I feel like the answer is a little obvious, but we'll hear it anyways.
I'm looking forward to the whole card to watch. If I get the chance to, depending on with my match, I'll probably be doing things. But when I can get to the monitor, obviously I'll be in Gorilla for Deanna and Mickie James because, I'm a little biased on who I want to win that one, but both of them, the story they have going into this has been built, and it's a different side of Deanna as well that people have not really been able to see, of her being just a badass instead of just the technical virtuosa, and now she's the virtuosa badass.
She is. And this rivalry between Deonna Purrazzo and wrestling legend Mickie James has certainly heated up, but I want to know, did you approve of this barnyard attack on Mickie James? Deanna literally went to Mickie James's house, Steve. That's a little intense.
Has she learned some tactics from me? Maybe. But she does her. She's in control of what she wants to do, and she's the champ right now. She's the AAA Reina de Reinas champion, and she's also the Knockouts champion, two-time Knockouts champion. And she's kicking ass. And this story with her and Mickie has just been built, and it's just two generations colliding. And I hope Mickey's ready, but then at the same time, like I tell Deanna, I hope she's ready too, because granted, Mickey's been out of the game for a little bit, but she's still, she's a badass too. She's that hardcore country.
Can't count her out. Can't count out either competitor. I think this is, Deanna says it's not a dream matchup of hers, but it really is a dream matchup for a lot of this fan. So I'm certainly looking forward to it as well. But assuming you walk away with the X Division Championship at Bound for Glory, and assuming that your other half, Deonna Purrazzo, retains her Knockouts Championship, do you think that this then makes you two the ultimate power couple?
We keep seeing that about power couples with Matt Cardona and Chelsea, and then you
Mhm.
got Adam Cole and Britt Baker. I don't know. I think it's not the time yet of us kind of being on screen as the power couple, but eventually down the road, I would think that would happen. But we both take our careers our own way right now. And we both support each other as much as we can, and that's the one thing, we're both in full support of each other, and no matter what we do.
As you should. And you mentioned two other prominent power couples today in Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green, and obviously Adam Cole and Britt Baker in AEW now. But who are some of your personal favorite power couples or duos throughout the history of professional wrestling?
You got to go with Triple H and Stephanie. You got Macho Man and Elizabeth. Granted, she wasn't in the ring, but it was just very just on screen. Luna Vachon and Bam Bam Bigelow, they're very good together. Yeah, China and Eddie for that little bit of a run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of Ms. Maurice.
Oh,
Miz, very
iconic.
another top couple. Miz is killing it on Dancing with the Stars. D's got me watching Dancing with the Stars, and I'm into it. So
Now, would that be something that you'd be open-minded to with Dancing with the Stars, or how good are your dance skills?
If the offer was there, maybe, I don't know. I'd probably be awful.
Really?
Probably good. I'm not the biggest of dancers. I'm a good slow dancer.
Some of it is slow dancing, but a lot of it, like the tango or like the salsa, is a little bit more fast paced. So I don't know if Deanna could teach you anything prior. Maybe,
I don't know. It would be fun to do. It's something different to do, and obviously outside of wrestling, that would be a lot of fun.
That would be so fun to see. It's cool seeing wrestling crossover into more mainstream stuff, but we're talking about all things Impact Bound for Glory coming up this Saturday, October 23rd, from the exhilarating city of Las Vegas, Nevada. So, I mean, you mentioned you're taking a little trip beforehand, but what are your overall thoughts on the city of Las Vegas and the potential of this crowd for this pay-per-view?
It is Sin City, and I'm excited just to be in front of the fans in a different town, because we've been obviously with Impact Wrestling in Nashville. We've been down at the studio, and I'm highly looking forward to it. And I'm really focused on my match. Granted, we're doing our sightseeing beforehand, get out there to the Grand Canyon and Hoover Dam and see all the sights. But once it's time for that bell to ring at Bound for Glory, that's where my mind's at right now.
Speaking of crowds too, obviously I think Vegas is no doubt going to be so electric, especially being at the first time in Vegas in a while. Throughout your career, has there been any other certain city or place you remember just having the most electric or vocal crowd?
Chicago was one of those. And then Milwaukee was another one. And then we wrestled in Paris and NXT at the Download Festival. The Download Fest itself was an electric crowd. Just the UK fan base is just a different entity of fans, and just a different level. Like, you have your US fans, but just for the UK over there, I love it. It just happens organically, and they're nuts. And but in Paris, it was just one of those moments where it was just a good atmosphere. It was an old circus venue, and just to be in a ring that smelt, and it was hot. There's no AC, just the atmosphere just all fit perfectly. And staring across, you see Otis, and just a good laugh. So it was those are some of the top ones.
Now, what about Milwaukee really struck you? Because I feel like that's not a city we hear too often, I think of.
Milwaukee was a good bar setting. We ran a live event there in NXT, and I had a few of my buddies that were in the Marine Corps that came to the show. And so it was a lot more fun for me, especially us being heels with Weston Blake and I tagging at that time. And it felt like an old ECW style where the bar was there. Everybody's kind of standing on the top mezzanine, but then there's all tables down, but then there's chairs as well. Everything is so close knit and just loud, rowdy. A lot of good drinks were probably flowing that day. And it was just one of those cool atmospheres and just fun.
I bet. And in the spirit of Bound for Glory, is there a certain moment in your career you feel like you felt all the glory or felt perhaps the most proud of so far?
I don't know. I can't really answer that yet.
Fair.
I've left a lot on the table in certain where I've been, obviously, and said other company. Things that didn't end the way it was supposed to be, but I had a lot of fun, a lot of good memories. I met Deanna. And that's the one good thing. So if anything, that's probably my answer right there is Deanna.
Aw. I'm going to have to share this clip with her, but perhaps maybe you are bound for glory coming up at Bound for Glory in the X Division Championship. So maybe to be determined, but Deanna, that's a good answer. You got to give it to you there. Now, lastly, throughout all the highs and lows in professional wrestling, what do you think has kept you motivated to keep showing up and turning out all these years in professional wrestling?
Passion. I love it. Even when I started training, that was the one thing I fell in love with right away, was just being in the ring. And it's a lot of fun. And I'm a giant kid at all times that wears his underwear. So you go from wearing your tighty whities as a little kid running around the living room and jumping off the couch to now doing it in a ring consistently on a daily basis for a living. And it provides a living and a home, and the dog's just chilling here right now, and being able to just enjoy life.
Of course. Now, before I let you go, Steve, can you please tell the listeners where they can tune into Bound for Glory and also find you on social media?
You can tune in to Bound for Glory, which is this Saturday, October 23rd on Fight TV. And please tune in, because the card from top to bottom is going to kick ass, especially my match in the X Division title triple threat match. And follow me on social media at Steve Maclin, Steve Maclin on Twitter as well. So it's the same handle for both. And YouTube as well. I have my own YouTube page, so check on in. And yeah, just tune in to Bound for Glory, guys.
Now, do you have any upcoming scoops or ideas for your YouTube channel that you can share with us?
I'm actually just starting to get into YouTube. Not really the most social media tech savvy person. D helps me out a lot, because if it wasn't for pro wrestling, I wouldn't have social media. But for YouTube, I've kind of thrown some ideas around of, I don't know if I want to sit around a fire pit and have wrestlers come on and we just kind of talk life, not even wrestling. So there's some ideas there of trying to figure some stuff out for downtime.
Fireside chats. I like it. I like it.
A little bit of whiskey on the side too.
Oh, of course. You got to always have it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Steve. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you for having me on, and thank you again.
And don't forget to tune into Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory pay-per-view coming up this Saturday, October 23rd at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific on Fight TV. And again, thank you so much for joining me today, Steve.
Oh, thank you.